pick a big market. One of my understandings when I think about this, I went to Harvard Business School. I did a 3-year program called OPM. Going back to school, this is the only time I'll say it, is an incredible experience to get your free agent juices flowing. So I'm listening to this marketing professor. He is a huge marketing professor. You know what he said to me? He said, go after the fat rabbit. That was the way he opened class. We're talking about ideas. Pick a big market, pick a big opportunity, but let's talk more about the fat rabbit.
The rabbit is fat and slow.
Rabbit is fat and slow. Yeah, first you're thinking rabbit, jackrabbit out there in the desert running like a mofo, right? You know, and then you're thinking a fat, lumbering rabbit, right? Right? Big rabbit, right? Do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's great. Yeah.
I think this is a debate. I think going after a big, lumbering, slow market is a good opportunity, but I always chased a skinny, wiry, fast rabbit, and I would chase and chase and chase that rabbit. But when I caught it, even a small hunter who works and plans and hunts and goes after it can get that skinny, wiry, fast animal. And I think this is where I would reach this out for business. You have to make some decisions about where the city and where this country is going to go. Make sure you make the right decisions, and it won't necessarily be the obvious ones. And some things will seem like huge marketplaces, should be so obvious to go after, and other things, yeah, I would say green power is a huge, big, fat rabbit, and a very good example. I would say building a social network for this country. Is there one? Yeah? Okay, so getting communication around a new technology, having a Twitter platform that would actually impact the whole world, might be a skinny, wiry rabbit, something that's different. Your name matters. Do you like the name Monster? Yeah? Monster's not here. So any country that I'm in where Monster is this established powerhouse for jobs, people generally say, I love the name Monster, but you're kind of neutral on it, I think, right? So I had this dream, and I said to my wife, I'm going to name my company Monster. She said, I won't leave the house with you if you call your name Monster. She's not my wife anymore, but she does leave the house every day, right? The name Monster was a crazy name, right? It was very uncomfortable. How come I didn't call it job this or career that? It would have been so obvious. Monster has nothing to do with jobs. I went to my employees, and they said, what do you think of the name Monster? You know what they said? Monster under your bed. It's horrible. Nobody wants a monster under their bed. I said, well, is it the name Monster, really? When you think about a monster typhoon, which is the bad word? Right? When you think about a monster goal, right? Is monster a bad word? It's huge, right? So the idea of picking your name, if you get the name right, people will love it, and it can really help you. The best example I have of this, if you're having a baby and someone says, oh, what are you going to name it? You're like, Elizabeth. And they're like, Elizabeth. Oh, I love it. Right? But if you're at the hospital and you say, I'd like to introduce you to Elizabeth, you're like, Elizabeth! Right? It isn't about somebody else's opinion. You got to get the name right, and you got to go after that name. I think it can mean the difference. If I had called Monster career this or job that, I don't think I'd be standing here right now. Because there ended up being 20 sites that were called career this or job that. But Monster raised the bar. I think picking a name is critically important. I think that we talked about culture, and we talked about when we think about brand. I think these are big things for a company, but I think there's a new one, and that's being viral. So when I think about the culture of a company, that's what your employees say about you. When I think about the brand of a company, I think that's what your customers say about you. I love those simple definitions. But now there's this new thing, which is the V. And you classically would look at that as values. But I think the V today is getting viral. You have to get your idea viral. I've had some exercises around this. This is very difficult to do. I had a problem in my company where people were leaving at 5 o'clock. And so I started asking, why are you leaving? You know, we were 1,000 people. We were getting too big, right? And so I asked, why are you leaving? One of the things people said was they had to go pick up the dry cleaning, right? So I created a closet at my office. I had 3 dry cleaners come in and do a bake-off. And I picked a dry cleaner, and I offered all the employees, do your dry cleaning at the office, right? How many people did it the first week? Right? 13. 1,000 employees, 13 people used the dry cleaning service. I was like, okay, this isn't working, but what did I do? I paid for it. So everyone got their dry cleaning for free, right? So the next week, how many people did it? 75, right? And I paid for it again. You know what they started calling it? The magic closet. You put clothes into the closet, and they came out clean, and it was free, right? And what I realized is I didn't have to pay for it every week, but I ended up with 400 employees using the dry cleaning service, right? And I had to take my closet and turn it into a whole room at our company. And it created an environment where people would stay later because they had to dry clean. It was one of the top 3 reasons why people left, because their spouse would call and say, did you pick up the dry cleaning? Right? And they would have to leave. I looked at another example. I wanted people to work out. I said, could I do this again? Right? So I put 12 Monster towels in the men's room and 12 Monster towels in the women's room. And I had a laundry service, figured once a week I'll wash the towels and they'll be there as a service, right? So what happened to the towels? They were beautiful towels. They were big Monster towels, big logo on them, white cotton, cover your whole body, perfect beach towel, right? And we planned it, right? So after one day, all the towels were gone. So what do you typically do in a company when something like this happens? You write the memo. We're not going to until everybody brings these towels back and puts them in the showers, right? That's what you say, right? So what did I do? Fed more towels. 1,400 towels the first year. I couldn't give away a premium to all my employees and give away 1,400 of them, right? So what happened to the towels?
They're marketing their company.
Yeah, they were everywhere. Somebody said my dog has 2 of the towels in their dog bed. I mean, at least the dog won't use the competitor hot chops. So it's a good thing, right? Right? But I started at the beaches on the Cape. I started seeing Monster towels. I could go down the beach and I could count on 3 or 4 Monster towels being at the beach. It became a marketing tool for me, getting viral. Like, getting viral is hard to do, but if you figure it out right, this is my Cuban cigar theory, right? If you have a Cuban at a party, you can smoke Cuban cigars here, right? Okay, in the United States, you can't. Cuba's right there, right? It doesn't really work here, right? All right, forget about it. But you have this shortage, this theory that there's something that you can't have that you really. So I did this with my resume database. We had a 24-hour free access to our resume database. We called it an Xcode. Any recruiter out there could use the database, and it had 80 million resumes in it. And we could actually give away the database for 24 hours. At the end of the 24 hours, we would turn it off, and then they would buy it, right? So we left it on. So the recruiter goes back and says, I thought it was going to get turned off, but it's not turned off. They forgot. So what's the first thing you do? Right? You tell everyone. So you tell other recruiters, hey, I got the Xcode. They forgot to turn it off. You can just use it, right? So it would go Chicago, LA, Toronto, the UK, back to Chicago, Boston, Florida. Your average Xcode went 21 places, right? For 18 months we did this, and we didn't tell anybody, right? It turned into $30 million in revenue when we turned it off, right? And when we turned it off, we had a customer service bank set up. People called up and said, the resume database doesn't work. It's like, oh, are you a customer? They're like, no. And I said, well, kind of. I use it. Oh, you use it. Oh, you're at IBM. Do you know how many people are using your code at IBM? No. 36. 36 recruiters at IBM or any company. It was at all different companies. So we used the viral method to get our business out. So it's a long story to tell you, how could you get viral right now?